made at home. I think our teachers in our community do a great job of reaching out to the parents, but at the end of the day, it's going to be up to the parents whether they show up, they're part of their kids' lives, they're learning more about what's happening in the school place. Unfortunately, you're going to always have parents out there. That's part of the problem with some of the kids, but that's not the kids' problem. We still got to do what we can for the children. All we can do is hope these teachers continue to reach out to the parents and draw them to the classroom, get them volunteer, and get them involved in the school systems. But that's a parent's decision at the end of the day.
This is a passion of mine, and I don't believe I'm going to be able to do it in 1 minute unless I talk very, very quickly. I started out by sharing with you that I think that we need to redouble our efforts of getting parents involved. We have a strong strategic plan that talks about how to involve parents. In looking even at the achievement gaps of some of the families that aren't involved, there's a 30 million word gap from parents who are not engaged and not involved with their children and those who are. So to me, engaging parents early, engaging them often is key. And I will regularly evaluate the effectiveness of family involvement in the programs and activities. Parent involvement is more complex than it seems. In the last several decades, there has been quite a bit of deterioration in our public schools. Oh, please, 5 more minutes. I know. I know they weren't going to give it to me.
Thank you. All right. Well, for parental involvement, I know that we do have parental involvement plans for each of our schools. I think, like what Trey said, it's going to be ultimately up to the parents whether they get involved or not. We have found at several of our schools that the best way to get parents to actually come to our schools is to offer food. I think that works for you guys as well. You know, you offer food, then people will come. But another thing that we have found that does seem to work is offering like a make and take, offering academic support for those children. And we're just continuing to hope that if we continue to offer this support for their children, because we're working for the same goal. We want to help your children. Parents want to help their children. We work together. You know, we just have to continue to reach out to those parents. And I think that the Leader in Me is a wonderful program like you had mentioned. And if parents can get into that and grasp onto that topic, that will really help them as well too. Another thing I wanted to mention is that the CAC with the Champions for Children, they do offer a lot of great resources for parents as well.
Yep. I think we'll all agree that the roles of the teacher have shifted through the years. We have a lot more, mother roles and father roles now within the school system. Ultimately, it all starts at home. If we don't get the parental involvement there, statistics show, it's not going to get much better. We have programs in place, mentoring. I go in once a week to kindergartens through United Way's Reading Pals, and trying, reading to the kids, mentoring with them, sending them home with books. That way it's bringing it in the classroom and bringing it back home. Also, the Leader in Me program is great. The business, the community has really stepped behind that program, and it's done wonders. I went to a number of leadership days at our elementary schools, and the kids there, they've really grasped hold onto it. By the time they're in 3rd grade, especially with literacy, it's make or break. So we don't have that much time.
It's kind of like the safety questions. We all know what the problems are. You get to elementary school, you get quite a few people come in. You get to middle school, it drops off more, and you get to high school, hardly anybody shows up. The problem is, parents come to school, but it's the one you don't need to come to school. It's the one of all the A students. And food don't work. You know how many hot dogs and hamburgers I've cooked at Lake Park High School over the years? You know who shows up to eat them? The kids. Parents don't come. But also, we got a big problem in this country with family life. How many families, I used to ask in my class, how many of you tonight sat down and had dinner with your family? 30 kids in the class, maybe one of them would raise their hand. That type of life is gone. Single-family homes, single mothers having to work.
Yep.
There are some reasons out there. And basically, you'll find out that a lot of it's been put on teachers. You find that teachers who call, if they got kids that's got bad grades, call the parents and keep in contact with them, you're more likely to get the parents to come. But my gosh, we can't put nothing else on teachers. Paperwork and stuff like that's killing them right now, so we can't leave them responsible. I don't really have an answer. I know some of the reasons, but I don't have an answer. It's not food, but I'm gonna tell you what, single-family homes and family life, deterioration of family life at home is one of the main reasons.
This question is about the issue of data mining. All of our citizens today are becoming more and more concerned about the federal government imposing upon our private information about our families and so forth. Florida state law SB 188 attempts to eliminate the prospect of data mining from school information. What is the role that you see of a school board member in interposing between attempts by the federal government or the state government to impose requirements to provide data from your students and your students' parents?
Well, I really wish I had a solution to that. I think, we have to be able, I think as a school board, we have to try to fight the government. We have to try to limit the amount of information that's given out. I know, basically, we have our kids at school that there's a lot of information, and not only the kids, but the adults, the teachers, and all that stuff. I wish I had an answer for that question. I really don't, because the federal government, even the state government, they're great for one thing: passing out mandates, not putting any funding on it, and not helping do what they want to do. They're great for that. They're great at doing mandates. But I really don't have an answer for that question.
Thank you. I know data mining's a pretty big issue, especially as we go forward in this technological age. Just about everything is done with computers nowadays. Statistics, numbers can be construed one way or another. It just depends on how you want to make them look. So ultimately, numbers are a great thing. Just like in the medical field, if we're able to keep track of our records better and able to know what drugs are being prescribed by one doctor and you go and see another doctor, that's right in front of them. It could be the difference between life and death prescription. The same within our education system. We've got to use what numbers we collect, but do we need to give them to the federal government? No, that's on our local level, and that's within our discretion, and let's use what we're going to do. Thank you.
In efforts of time, I'm just going to agree and pass along.
I will agree also and just say that they're already taking the data. They are on the concept that they need it in order to develop more test results, more evaluations that fit with the needs of the student.
Student data mining has gone way too far.
You're
Most
here.
of the data they're collecting, it's just not needed. To me, it's intrusive. As a school board member, I think one of the first things I do is reach out to Andy Tuck, who's in Tallahassee right now, and voice our concerns about this, but we've got to start somewhere, and it can be right here at the local level.
Yes.
Been to Tallahassee 3 times. This data mining is taken very, very seriously. Our state is the gatekeeper of these kids' information and the gatekeepers of the privacy law. FERPA, you will try and get information. I haven't been able to get it. I would like somebody to sit down, because I want to be fair with everybody. If this, I'm talking about Florida or Highlands County, where we know all these things about these kids, I really need to see it. But the education system, I know here in Highlands County, this FERPA rule, you cannot get this information, and it is scrubbed before it's sent to DC. They have people that remove all that information. We just had the governor of Georgia sign an executive order that we will not allow this information to go out. Oklahoma did House Bill 1989 for protection of these kids' information. It is vitally important, but I need to see, vitally important that we protect this.
Well, I'm too. Well, I'm going to agree and pass the mic on.
I'm going to agree also, and everybody said very good things up here about data mining. I think some data is good, but we have to be sure we know what kind of data they're actually collecting and where it is going and what they're actually using it for. So with that said, I'm going to pass it, or maybe keep it for now.
Okay, in interest of time, one last question. It's two parts. It's two different questions. I'll throw them out there together. Number one, are you in favor of the 0.5% increase in sales tax that's pending coming on the next election? And then also, although Florida may no longer call it Common Core, and it has been set aside in other states, what is your thought on Common Core, or whatever term Florida is calling it today?
Well, today I believe it's called Florida Standards. And man, 1 minute for both of those questions. That's crazy. So Florida Standards, like we talked about before, is the standards are set in place so teachers have that guideline. There's many cons and there are a few pros, maybe. You have migrant students, you have teachers, or myself, if I lost my job having to move to another state that has it, that's what I believe they're there for, to make sure that they're there so every kid is on the same playing field, level playing field when they get to those schools. My wife had a kid in one of her classrooms that moved from Indiana, I believe, and came down, and she was actually a year behind in her class because Indiana was that far behind from Florida. And I've heard reverse. I've heard people move from Florida somewhere else and they were actually behind. So I think standards in that sense are good. As far as it being more rigorous, I think a lot of times we think our kids are getting too much and sometimes we put it off. And I'm not going to get to the second question because time is up.
Can you repeat that second question? I got the first question.
Yes, two-part question. The first part was the 0.5% sales tax increase that's being requested. Also, the whatever Florida is calling Common Core today. What are your thoughts on Common Core, or are you in favor of it?
Well, on both questions, I think anything that we do, anything we put in place should be fair to all our children. And if it's not fair to all our children, then it's not fair for me. And I think that 0.5-cent tax, if it's fair, then we need it. I think we do need it. But is it being used correctly? Is my biggest problem with it.
Let me kind of go through a bit of history here. Got it. Well, here's what happened. In 2005, we voted the 1 cent. We turned it down. Do you know what happened? We end up now have a $53 million loan because we turned it down. When you're on the school board, you have a financial responsibility to see all the bills are paid. We've had lost $2.3 million a year because what the state did is they cut out a $250,000 and a $250,000. Okay? Remember this impact fees are a great lot of money? It's zero. That was to pay for this. So if the school board is lockstep, just look at the facts. If the school board is lockstep and saying these needs are necessary, I've listened very close to them, then this is necessary to pay these bills because that is their fiduciary responsibility to see these are paid. If we vote it down, then there's going to be a no. And we're going to pass it on, not to me because I'm the oldest one here, you're going to pass it on to him and his kids. Take responsibility.
I think I would love to see Florida standards set aside. Unfortunately, it's mandated, so that's not going to happen. We can sit here and debate that all day long. As for the half-cent sales tax, I am for it. I think there's two ways we can raise money here in this county. It's raise ad valorem taxes, which only a handful of us pay, or you can do the fair thing when you pass the half-cent sales tax where everybody gets to bear it. But it's definitely needed for our schools. To date myself, I started at Woodlawn Elementary back in the 60s. It's one of the oldest school systems in our community. A lot of them need a lot of help, and we're talking infrastructure. So I'm for that, and I think it's the fairest tax that we can do rather than raising ad valorem taxes for just a few of us.
I believe I've already addressed some of the Common Core questions for the half-cent sales tax. I would say yes, or I do say yes, I'm for it. The health and the safety of our children are of utmost importance. And if we wanted to be selfish here for a minute, we could say that quality schools improve our community. Our homes appreciate, and business owners maintain and increase their clientele. So I believe that funding quality education is the one area where our taxes are needed and they are well spent.
As far as Florida standards, like Trey said, that they are state mandated, so they are not going away. But I do believe that we can implement them in a conservative way. I know that we're going through the ins and outs of them, and some agree with them, some don't. But like I mentioned, we can implement them in a conservative way with our curriculum and the way that the teachers go with that. As far as the half-cent sales tax, I'm glad it's going to the voters. Like others mentioned, I do believe that we need it. As far as our schools, like I said, we have lots of schools that are dated and that need work as far as the infrastructure. So I believe that it levels the playing field for everyone. It's just not just the people who live here, it's just for everyone. Thank you.
Common Core, AKA Florida Standards. Something we can't do, but what we can agree upon is that we want to elevate achievement and standards within our classrooms here. And that's something that we can do as a community. As for the half-cent sales tax, the great thing about America is it goes to the voters. Me, myself, I am for it. My mother, sitting over here, anytime we get 1 inch, or anytime she gets 1 inch of rain, her classroom floods. 1 inch of rain, the classroom floods. There's building improvements, technological improvements. You know, there's things that need to be improved. And if we're looking at the numbers and $5,000 to cap, they're saying 35% of the income, the revenue coming in is going to be coming from tourists and people that don't pay property taxes. It's the fairest way to go.
Oh, Lord, that's a loaded question for me, because I was on the board that had the vote to put it up there. So yes, I'm for the half-cent sales tax. If you walked around with me to our schools the last 4 years and see what I see, you'd know it's very needed. The Common Core standard, that's the Florida standards, it's Florida law. My concern on that is, first of all, if they let us implement them the way we want to at the local level, we'll be fine. I have no problem with standards, but if they do what they say they're going to do, if they let the teacher write their own lesson plans, choose their own text, and teach it the way they want to in their own classroom, I have no problem with it. But let's just wait and see if that happens.
Okay, we finished the questions. I got one I'm going to put out. I will say one thing on the Common Core analogy, that the same thing for the same student in every school in every state in the United States is no longer a valid comment for anybody to rest their laurels on, because 13 states have totally dropped out of it, and 2 more just dropped out of it this past week. Totally out of it. I do have, where you people stand on how much are you up on the current laws that were passed in the state of Florida? Because new responsibilities have come down, which used to be the old responsibilities for the school boards. That the district school board now has the final responsibility for all instructional material adopted by the district for the classroom. It requires all districts to convene a public hearing, to receive public comment, and require policies that allow parental objection to materials, which means now you folks that do get on the board, or Mr. Jackson is already on it, it is your total responsibility, as the Constitution originally indicated, your responsibility to do the education of the students in your county, not the federal government, nor the state government. So I'm hoping that, I'm not going to ask you a question, I'm just hoping that when the time comes, that you pick responsible, knowledgeable parents to be on these boards so that we get the right judgment on these books that are going to be chosen by the school board. And I'm not going to get any more of the Common Core stuff. That's another subject. So with that, I would like to thank all of you for, you've spent a lot of time here tonight. You've asked, I think, a lot of hard questions. I'm sure you had a lot more that you want to put into them, but time does because of limit. We can run over, and I'm going to give everybody 2 minutes to do a summation of what they feel here tonight, so we can wrap it up and call it an evening. Now, before we do that, I would also like to recognize another one of our constitutional officers came into the room later on, Commissioner Don Elwell. Don, good evening. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand the mic over to Mr. Culbertson, and he can start out.
Well, I'm just going to recap. I am for the absence sales tax. I think it is fair, since I didn't get to answer that question. But to recap on everything, I have a vested interest in the schools with my family, my kids, my wife being in it. I have a real perspective of being involved in the schools. Leadership Day, like was mentioned before, excellent. I think we have a lot of good things going on in the schools, and I want to see that continue. I think it's very important to uphold the values and morals that are already there. Also, just a servant's heart. Being a firefighter, it's led me to see that heartedly, dedicating the last 11 years as that, going to people that are in need. So, and being in these schools and serving them and showing what improvement it actually does make to be there and show that you care. So with that said, I'm not going to take any more time.
Can I ask you, please give your school district when you start?
Yes, sir. Glenn Culverhouse, and I'm running for District 5.
Thank you. Hold the applause till they're all done, and then we can give one big one.
Al Henson, and I'm running for District 1, Avon Park area. I'm in Highlands County, and I grew up here. I love this county. I've always loved this county. Going to E.O. Douglas, I had to travel from Avon Park to Sebring every day to go to school. So I found a lot of friends in Sebring, Lake Placid, and Avon Park. So I call this home. Even when I was in Miami, I used to drive through and just show off Avon Park baseball field, coach, just to show what they had done. And when I go there now, it's not the same. Avon Park is not the same. Sebring is not the same. And our kids are very talented, but it's not the same. I have been a math teacher for 32 years, head baseball coach for 26 years, football coach. I was the athletic director and fitness manager. So I think I'm ready to be a school board member, and I hope you would vote for me.
Thank you kindly. I'm Matt Hutchinson, District 5. It has dawned on me that professional development is going to be very, very important. The reason it's important is because we have so many DNF schools, actually we have C schools. These teachers can do their job if we get people to work with them on professional. We're going to pour some money into professional development. Your teacher, I hope you know what I'm talking about. We're getting killed with our truancy and our absenteeism. I'm going to tell you something. Susan Benton has the thing with a fence around it, with people in it. We've got about 1 or 2% of the students that should not be in these schools. I asked a dean at Sebring High School, I said, Pepe, you got rid of 35 students, you get rid of 50% of our problems. They do not have the right to come into our schools and disrupt our schools and disrupt our education. And that's exactly what they do. They think it's fun. They don't have the right to do that. But we'll send them someplace else. take a little time, we'll go do that. I also am very important for surplus spending. I think this ultra conservative, we're going to move toward, move toward conversion charter schools. The reason being is because you have the school-run grassroots, the principal gets the money. You have a board. In order to do that, the teachers have to vote in favor of it, and the school members, the parents have to vote in favor, and then you have to present a plan. It's about a 2-year plan. We are not allowed to get that out. When you have a school district in Lake County, there's 5 schools that from '98 to today has a $29 million of surplus with just about 3,000 students. You will love having a surplus person moving forward, working with Highlands County.
William Trey Stevenson, District 5. As I mentioned before, I think my financial expertise will help me as a school board member, especially if the half-cent sales tax goes through. It's going to be critical that we spend every one of those dollars wisely. They are marked for certain projects or some things we can't do with that money. The infrastructure is one of the main ones that we can spend it on, and we need to. Keep in mind my 3 topics that I spoke on at the beginning of this conversation with bullying, school safety, and finally getting our schools' grades up to where they need to be. And I appreciate if you'll vote for me in August.
Thank you for sponsoring this forum. I wanted one follow-up to the Leader in Me program with the elementary school children. I am with the graduating 2014 class of Leadership Highlands for this year, and we are fundraising to bring in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective Parents, also by Covey. And our hope is to have 2 families from each of the elementary schools and the kindergarten center attend a 2-day workshop, and it will be videotaped. So we will be able to use segments of that with other parents when they come in. So if you hear about that, help support us as we raise funds. Oh, I'm sorry, District 1, Avon Park. I hope my message was clear and concise. I did not share a lot about my biography. However, if you go to the table, I do have quite a bit of information on what I stand for and what my history. That thing always throws me, and my history. Also over there, I have some wonderful jar openers. You know those rubber jar openers? Well, they're useful. So I would like you to take one home. I keep one in the car and to open bottles with. It has my logo on it, so you remember who I am, Charlene Edwards, District 1. But please take one. Thank you very much.
Wow, an introduction. It's me. I'm Jill Compton. I am District 5. And the one that most of us are up here for, except for these 2 in the blue, right? Okay. And I am a teacher. I've been a teacher for 15 years. And as I mentioned in the beginning, I'm also a parent and a community member. And I think that those 3 things are very valuable for somebody who's on the school board. I think that those 3 perspectives are essential. I am a very good listener, so I welcome topics, and I like to research before I make off-the-cuff statements. That's why I take a little time before I answer. I want to make sure that I'm giving the best possible answer and true statements as well. I think that that's a good thing. I am a lifelong community member. I grew up in Lake Placid, graduated from Lake Placid High School, and I live currently in Sebring. But I do think that I could tell you all the community involvement that I've been in, but you're going to forget about that tomorrow. But I would like to vote for me. Again, it's Jill Compton, and I am District 5.
Thank you, Jill, and thank you, Highlands Tea Party, for having us tonight. This is the first one for all of us, so we appreciate it. Real quick, the U.S. competes in a global economy, and our nation's children deserve education that is likewise competitive globally. Education's our cornerstone for our society. The youth are our future leaders. I chose to come back to our county to establish my business. I chose to get involved with the community and our school system upon getting back to the community. I'm not going to wait to get involved to make a difference for our school system and our students. I hold an undergraduate and master's degree in business and economics. We're all stakeholders in our children's education. Taxpayers, parents, teachers, all of us. I've been in the classroom weekly, as I told you, with your reading pals. Boy, do I have a newfound respect for kindergarten teachers. Middle school, we brought in a motivational speaker, Mark Miro. He spoke about making positive choices and also bullying. It's a huge problem that our community faces, and we're a strong community. We can get past that. Finally, at the high school level, I've had two sets of graduating classes with seniors. It's great keeping track with them and seeing all the things they're doing. Finally, my qualifications speak for themselves. From the kindergarten to the high school level, I've been involved since I got back. I've got the educational background. I've got the business background. I ask for your support and your vote, and thank you all, and God bless. District 5.
Ronnie Jackson, District 1, and I hold that seat at present time. Just let me say, I've been involved in the school system in Highlands County for 51 years. I'm not going to bore you with accolades, all that kind of stuff, because all that stuff really don't mean anything. It's what you're going to do when you get on there. We have great teachers. We have very good administrators. We have very good people at the county office. My job as a school board member is to support and give those people the materials, the finances they need to make sure our schools continue to improve. And our schools are improving. We are improving in a lot of areas. Do we need more improvement? Yes, we do. We're not where we want to be. And we're going to continue to try to improve our school to the highest level we can. Just remember, all kids can learn. They just can't always learn what we want them to.
Yes.
Okay, one thing. School board. Someone made the comment earlier, you'd love to have people like us come into the school. We need your help to get in there. We have people down here in our group, Dale Flug, number 1, very, very, very knowledgeable of the United States Constitution. He just got done giving a 12-week course, very in-depth class on the Constitution. This is beyond what you ever got in school. We'd love, we didn't get a chance to do it this summer, I don't know if we could still do it, but I'd love to have the help of the school board or somebody in the field to help us put together a summer class for children here in Highlands County. Now, it's not free. It's, what is it, $80 a person or something? It's $80 a person, which includes the 12 weeks of education plus the learning books and everything else that go with it. But this is a fantastic course if we want our children to learn what our country is all about. Another thing we did win from Mr. Cox was next fall during Constitution Week, which I think is the second week of September, we will be handing out 1,000 pocket constitutions at the school. Now, Mr. Cox is going to determine which school they go into to be handed out, but we did get permission to do that. It took us like a year and a half to get that permission because we have to buy the books, and they're not exactly cheap. But the thing is, they can't have any advertising in them. Except like this one does say something about maybe Heritage College, but beyond that, they don't have a problem with it. I can get them from our representatives and our senators, but it has their name on them, and that says no go in the school because politics isn't allowed in the school. We understand that, so we went out, we bought what we need to do with the kids. So you will see us handing out the constitutions, but we would more than love to be able to participate in the school at student forums or whatever they call them nowadays. And this was a common thing back in my day in school, people would come in and talk. I personally have even offered myself, this is not a nice thing to say, but I'm very experienced in suicides. I've had 4 of them that I've had to personally deal with. And I've told Wally, if you ever want somebody to come in and talk to the children and give them a little shock lesson on what suicide entails and the damage it does to the people you leave behind, I'd be the one to do it. But I've never been called on. So I think there's a lot of things that the school board can do that can make our school system much better than what it is today and move us in the right direction. You guys are the power. You are the power of education in the United States of America at every county level in the country. You folks are the ones who make the final decision. It's not the state education board. The governor's pretty much taking them out of the picture as much as he can at this point. And it's definitely, absolutely in violation of the Constitution, the Department of Education, Bill of Rights, and everything else for anything for the federal government to be involved in the curriculum of education in this country. And that's in the law. So you guys have got a big job ahead of you. You're stepping up to a very, 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 very big job. I don't even know how to put it any different. It's going to be a tough one. I congratulate you all for coming tonight, answering the questions. It's been a long evening. I respect your time, and God bless all of you. Round of applause. 50-50.
Hey, can I ask him one?